My neighbor befriended me and my kids and gained my trust as a babysitter, then secretly manipulated them into believing he was their father and tried to frame me for neglect to steal them. Now he's begging me to let him have his life back. I moved into a new neighborhood with my two kids, Angela and Justin, age 6 and 8, about 6 months ago. On my first day there, I was greeted by my neighbor Tom. He was energetic, good with kids, and such a fast talker that when he told me he was Spanish, I didn't even get the chance to tell him I knew the language. Either way, my kids loved him, and after a few months he was already babysitting them every time I went to work. The first red flag, however, showed up when he began making unsolicited parental suggestions. He'd tell me when to put them to sleep, what medicine to give them, what food to feed them. When I kindly asked him to stop, he said, "I'm sorry. You know I'm infertile, and I almost see these kids as my own. Imagine you weren't able to have kids. You'd be doing what I am too." I felt sorry for him, because it wasn't like he was a danger to the kids. I kept letting him babysit, then I started noticing how he began to turn my kids against me. At first it was subtle. "Tom lets us play and doesn't make us have nap time," Angela told me. "Yeah, he gives us chocolate before we eat," Justin added. At the time I thought it was just Tom trying to seem fun, but then my kids' comments became more manipulative and disturbing. They'd say, "Tom said he'd be a better dad than you are, Mom. Tom told us to listen to him and not you. Tom said he wants to be our dad, but can't because of you." I felt my blood run cold. I wanted to run to his house and lay it all out, but my kids loved him, so I knew I had to be careful. Fast forward to this past weekend. I invited him over with the intention of talking civilly and setting clear boundaries. I even prepared dinner and cleaned the house to make the environment as welcoming as possible. I never planned to tell the kids Tom was coming, but they overheard me talking about it while they were supposed to be sleeping. They got so excited they kept telling me not to ruin it or make Tom angry at us. When Tom walked in, he knelt down to hug my kids as they ran up to him. He spent a whole minute making funny faces with them, but then he stood up and, as soon as our eyes met, I felt his energy shift. I invited him to sit at the dinner table, but he declined, asking if he could sit on the couch instead so the kids could sit on his lap. I told him the conversation I needed to have wasn't appropriate for Angela and Justin. He smiled and said, "That's nonsense," sarcastically asking me what kind of mother would force her kids to their room. Then he looked at them and asked if they wanted to stay here. "Uncle Tom's right," Angela yelled. "We want to stay with him." I felt myself breaking. I wanted to put my foot down and yell, but every time I tried, Tom would steer the conversation in a way that used my kids against me. We ended up just watching a cartoon the kids loved, and the whole time Tom flashed a creepy smile at me, almost as if he'd won. It was while we were watching that Tom got a phone call. He stopped ruffling Justin's hair and excused himself to the hallway. I couldn't hear it well at first, but I recognized that he was speaking Spanish. He still didn't know I spoke it. When I heard him sarcastically mention the kids, my blood ran cold. I stood up and casually made my way over to the sink, pretending to get a glass of water. Because the door between the kitchen and hallway was closed, I subtly pressed my ear against it and listened in further. What I heard made my body shake and my legs go jelly. Tom was on the phone with his friend, mocking me and boasting how well his plan was going. He said, "Just a few more months before they're mine. I've already turned them against her. Now I just have to do something to one of them and frame her. Before she knows it, CPS will be at her door, taking her kids away for neglect. And guess who they'll want to take them in? That's right, me and only me." He then laughed. I wanted to throw up. And to make matters worse, that wasn't all he said. "Children are so easy to manipulate," he continued. "Just offer them a surprise. Say you're disappointed in them if they don't comply, and they'll tell you anything you want." I went back to the couch, face pale and fists clenched. My thoughts raced at 1,000,000 miles per hour when Tom came back out a minute later, smiling like nothing was wrong. I smiled back because I'd thought of something. That night, after Tom left and the kids were in bed, I sat in the dark living room trying to process what I'd heard. This stranger had systematically wormed his way into our lives with the explicit intention of taking my children from me. He'd been manipulating them, turning them against me, all while plotting to have them removed from my care. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. By morning, I'd gone from shocked to terrified to absolutely furious. I called in sick to work, dropped the kids off at school myself, making sure Tom wasn't lurking around, then called my sister Maya, the only person I completely trusted. He's been doing what? Maya practically screamed when I explained the situation. Plotting to frame you for neglect and get CPS to take your kids? I repeated the word, still not feeling real. That's psychotic, she said. We need a plan. You need evidence. Maya was right. It would be my word against his, and he'd spent months building his case while I'd been oblivious. By the time I picked the kids up from school, I had ordered nanny cams for every room in the house and voice-activated recorders. Amazon Prime same-day delivery was literally going to help me save my children. While the kids did homework, I researched narcissistic manipulation and gaslighting techniques. Everything I read described Tom's behavior perfectly. He'd isolated us, undermined my authority, created dependency, and was now moving toward the final stage of his plan. I felt sick realizing how expertly he'd executed each step. That evening, Justin asked if Tom was coming over. When I said no, both kids looked disappointed. Angela actually said, "But Fridays are Tom days." Apparently he'd established routines with them I wasn't even aware of. I tried casually bringing up Tom. "You guys really like spending time with him, huh?" They both nodded enthusiastically. "What kind of things do you talk about when I'm not around?" I pressed gently. Justin immediately looked uncomfortable. "Just stuff." "What kind of stuff?" I asked again. "Secret stuff." Angela shrugged. "Tom says some things are just between us and him." My parenting alarms were blaring, but I kept my expression neutral. "You know you can always tell me anything, right? Even if someone says it's a secret." Justin glanced at Angela, then said, "Tom says you wouldn't understand and that you might get mad." I changed the subject, but my mind was racing. What else had he told them? What secret stuff had been happening in my own home? The nanny cams arrived while the kids were watching TV. I quickly hid them throughout the house, one disguised as a phone charger in the living room, another as a clock in the kitchen, a third hidden in a bookshelf, and installed the app on my phone to monitor the feeds. I texted Tom that night, "Kids are asking for you. Work emergency tomorrow afternoon. Any chance you could watch them for a couple of hours?" His response came immediately. "Tied up until evening. Could do 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock p.m. though." Perfect, that gave me time to set up all the recording devices and prepare. Tomorrow, Tom would get the surprise of his lifetime. As I checked on the sleeping kids that night, I felt a surge of protective rage looking at their innocent faces. This man had methodically tried to steal what mattered most to me in the world. I gently brushed Justin's hair from his forehead and whispered, "Nobody is taking you from me. Not ever." The next morning, I kept things normal, making pancakes and asking what they wanted to do over the weekend, then casually mentioned, "I was thinking maybe next weekend we could drive up to Grandma's for a visit." The reaction was immediate and intense. Both kids started protesting at once. "We can't go next weekend. Tom said he has a special surprise for us on Saturday." I froze with the spatula midair. What kind of surprise? They shook their heads. "Another secret," they said. "Well, we don't have to decide now," I said lightly. But inside, I was reeling. He was already planning something specific for next weekend. My timeline needed to accelerate. While the kids were at school, I went through their rooms. I hated invading their privacy, but I needed to know what I was dealing with. Under Justin's mattress, I found a cheap prepaid phone. There was only one number programmed into it, Tom's. The text history showed messages instructing Justin to call if mommy acts weird or tries to take him anywhere far away. I found an identical phone hidden in Angela's favorite stuffed animal. I took photos of everything but left the phones where I found them. I didn't want to tip Tom off that I was onto him. Next, I called the school and spoke with both kids' teachers. Justin's teacher mentioned he'd become more withdrawn lately. Angela's teacher said she'd been talking about Uncle Tom constantly. Then came the bombshell. Tom had picked them up from school twice in the past month, claiming to be my authorized childcare provider. I immediately updated their pickup authorization list, removing Tom's name and informing the front office he was under no circumstances allowed to take my children. I added that I was the only person authorized for pickup until further notice. When the kids came home that afternoon, I tried again to casually ask about their relationship with Tom. "Why do you keep asking about Tom? Don't you like him anymore?" Justin asked defensively. Angela's lower lip trembled. "If you make Tom go away, I'll hate you forever." I changed tactics and suggested making cookies together. While we mixed dough, Angela mentioned Tom had been teaching them special games. When I asked what kind of games, she immediately clammed up, exchanging a look with Justin. "Secret games," Justin said firmly. My stomach twisted into knots, but I kept my expression neutral. "That sounds fun. Maybe we could play games with Aunt Maya soon too." Later, I called my friend Ela, who works in family social services. Without naming names, I explained the situation, what I'd overheard, and the changes in my kids' behavior, without solid evidence. "It's your word against his," she warned. "And if the kids are already alienated, their statements might back him up. So what do?" I asked desperately. "You need him to reveal his true intentions on record," she said. "And you need to document everything your positive interactions with the kids, their meals, their schedules, everything to counter any claims of neglect." That evening, when Tom arrived at 7 p.m. sharp, I was ready. The cameras were recording, voice recorders hidden throughout the house. I deliberately appeared distracted and stressed, mentioning work problems and sighing heavily. Tom immediately stepped into the supportive friend role, but I caught a calculated look in his eyes as he surveyed the kids' appearance and the state of the living room. "The kids look a bit neglected," he said with carefully crafted concern. "Have they had dinner?" "They had snacks," I mumbled. "I was going to order pizza." He clicked his tongue loud enough for the kids to hear. "They need proper nutrition, not junk food." I didn't rise to his bait. Instead, I mentioned, "By the way, I'm thinking of moving us closer to my parents. My mom offered to help with childcare while I work longer hours." Tom's face darkened momentarily before he recovered. "Moving? That would be so disruptive for the children. They're just getting settled here. It would make things easier financially," I pressed. "Let's discuss this privately," he suggested, steering me toward the kitchen. Once there, away from the kids, his mask slipped. "What the hell are you doing? You're ruining everything," he hissed. I knew I'd got him. The kitchen recorder was capturing every word. "I don't understand why you're upset," I said, pretending confusion. "It's just an idea my mom suggested." His voice softened. "Because children need stability, and I'm here to help. Your parents live, 2 hours away? The kids would have to change schools, lose all their friends, lose me." The way he said "lose me" sent chills down my spine. "I didn't realize you were so invested in our lives," I said carefully. "Of course I am. Those kids mean everything to me." "Not your kids," I reminded him. "They like that they already belong to me," he said quietly. I decided to push further. "They're my children, and I need to make the best decisions for them." His face twitched. "Of course they're your children, technically." That single word sent my blood running cold. We concluded the evening. As he left, he hugged the kids extra long. Justin actually cried when he said goodbye, like he was leaving forever. I overheard Tom whisper to Angela, "Remember what we talked about?" She nodded solemnly. After they went to bed, I reviewed the kitchen recording. His "you're ruining everything" comment was damning, but not explicitly incriminating. Enough. I needed more concrete evidence of his plan. The next morning, I texted Tom, telling him the kids were asking for him, just to set him up again. He asked when he could come. I said, "Tomorrow from 7 to 9 p.m. He agreed without hesitation. We repeated the dinner scenario. This time, Maya posed as a concerned sister-in-law who empathized with me, coaxing Tom into revealing more about his intentions. Over drinks, he boasted of his methods. Children need structure. When their primary caregiver is unstable, they look for security elsewhere. It's about creating contrast. If mom says no to something simple, I say yes. If she's tired and short-tempered, I'm endlessly patient. Eventually, they start coming to me first. I gripped my glass, heart pounding. He was openly admitting how he'd turned my children against me. Maya recorded as much as she could, though the bar was noisy. We needed a quieter environment. We arranged another dinner at my house, setting up more devices. When Tom arrived with wine, Maya brought up my parenting struggles again. This time, Angela burst into tears, sobbing, "I don't want to go away from Tom." He twisted it back on me. "See how you're making her feel guilty for expressing her emotions? That's emotional manipulation." Maya caught his projection and recorded the exchange. We still needed an explicit admission, so we enlisted Officer Reynolds and Ela from child welfare to wait secretly in the spare bedroom the next time Tom came over. Maya confronted him about the break-in, feigning panic. Tom's response was chilling. "This is perfect. Unstable mother leaves her house unsecured, goes on impulsive trips. This all builds the case sometimes kids need to be removed from unsafe situations." He just admitted his intent to fabricate neglect. That was our smoking gun. When Officer Reynolds and Ela emerged and arrested him for stalking, breaking and entering, custodial interference, and child exploitation, Tom sneered, "Those kids will never believe you over me." Haunted by fury at our evidence, after his arrest, the hardest part began: helping Angela and Justin understand what had happened and rebuilding our trust. They initially refused to believe me and blamed me for taking Tom away, so I engaged Dr. Ramirez, a child psychologist specializing in manipulation cases. Through play therapy, art, and carefully guided family sessions including video calls with their real father, Todd, we gradually helped them see the truth. Parallel to our healing, the prosecutor built a case against Tom, who turned out to have fabricated his entire persona and targeted at least 2 other single mothers similarly. With Eliza's testimony and the psychiatric records from a facility where Tom had been treated for delusions of parenthood, the evidence of a predatory pattern became overwhelming. The jury convicted Tom on all counts, sentencing him to 5 years. As months passed, we established new safety routines, kept the same schools for stability, and slowly introduced positive influences like Ben, a kind single dad whom the kids learned to trust. We celebrated small triumphs, Justin leaving his bedroom door open for the first time in years, Angela rediscovering art, Saturday pancake traditions, and movie nights that reminded us what true family feels like. 2 years later, I moved us to a new house 30 minutes away. We held a small ceremony where Angela and Justin chose which keepsakes from Tom to leave behind. We installed security protocols, code words, and support networks at school. They made peace with the past. Angela reclaimed Spanish culture on her own terms. Justin channeled his emotions into art and soccer. Some days are still hard anniversary as of Tom's arrest, flashbacks, nightmares. But our bond has grown stronger through shared healing. I keep our recordings locked away in a fireproof safe as a reminder that I will always protect my children, no matter what. Last night, tucking Angela in, she whispered, "I'm glad Tom didn't win, Mommy." "Me too, sweetheart," I replied, smoothing her hair. Justin added from his doorway, "We're the winners, our team." Home isn't just a place. It's the safety and love we create with each other, something no manipulator, however clever or persistent, could ever take away from us.